Welcome to another Q&A. This one we get asked a lot. So it's what's the difference between the Mini, the Tactical, and the Warrior pole? So maybe we start a little bit earlier in that and say, well, why do we have three poles, right? And the answer is that ideally you only need a certain amount of rigidity to go to a certain height. Any of the poles operating at 2 stories are going to be rigid because they're all 100% carbon fiber. If you start introducing hybrid poles where you put fiberglass in them, maybe even a hybrid pole will be more flexible at 2 stories, pardon me. And if you go to a fiberglass pole or an aluminium pole, depending on where you are in the world, then they can be pretty floppy at 2 stories as well. So we made the Mini, the Tactical, and the Warrior. The Mini is an entry-level pole. It's 100% carbon fiber, and it's perfectly fine and perfectly rigid at 2 stories. So somebody's only doing residential, Mini is fine. You can get Tactical, you can get Warrior, they're more rigid, but you won't notice the difference. When you start to notice the difference is as you go to clean higher, and because you're always going to be, let's say at 30 degrees off the building is the angle of the pole, the higher you go, the more gravity pulls down on the weight of the pole, and that pull down on the weight of the pole makes the pole want to flex like this. So we designed Mini to be 2 stories out of the box, can go to 3 stories with a plus B. I would recommend a plus B because it's a more rigid extension. We'll talk about that in a second. Tactical is a 2-story pole, 25 feet, 30-foot reach, but it's got high modulus carbon fiber in the top 4 sections. And so therefore you can extend it to 3 stories, 4 stories, even 5 stories. Once you get to 4, it's fine. 5, it's starting to flex a little bit. Not deadly, but you don't have the same control as an ultra high modulus pole. So then we made Warrior. Warrior is 3 stories out of the box, and you can extend it to 4 stories, 5 stories, 6 stories, even 7 stories with the plus AB system in the Warrior range. Okay. So we're not going to talk about the extensions today, we're just going to talk about the poles. So if you look at the board behind me, you can see it?
Yes.
You can see Tactical and Mini are exactly the same length. So what's the difference between Tactical and Mini? Lengthwise, nothing. 4'6" compact, 25-foot extended. Add 5 feet for your own height because you don't operate the pole with the butt on the ground. So you add 5, so you've got 30-foot reach without shock stop. If you add shock stop, this fella here, that's a Kevlar insulator handle. So if you've got overhead power lines, you should insulate your worker or yourself in the event of a accident, right? You touch the power line by mistake, even if it's the power going into the house, maybe it'll become conductive, and you're dealing with carbon fiber, which is conductive. Okay, so some of the other poles, by the way, in fact, the industry standard for a pole is to write on the pole the reach of the pole, not the length of the pole. So we'll tell you that Mini and Tactical are 25-foot extended, but a 30-foot reach. Other people would call that pole a 30-foot pole. So when you go to compare their 30-foot pole to our 25-foot pole, you think, I get a longer pole. You don't get a longer pole. It's just building blocks. You can't make a longer pole out of the same lengths. And then Warrior, can you see Warrior?
I can see her.
Yep, she's good. She's good.
She's hanging there.
So Warrior is 5'8" compact and 33 feet extended, 38 feet with shock stop, 43 feet reach with shock stop. So shock stop and Warrior is a full 4-story pole out of the box. So that's what, if you bought Warrior Elite Pack, you would get Warrior plus shock stop, and then you would have 4-story reach. And then you can see up here, you can see the plus A and plus B. Can you see them?
I can see them
Sweet.
now.
You'll see plus A and plus B for Warrior are longer than plus AB for Tactical and Mini.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yep. And that is because Tactical and Mini plus A plus B are the same length as Tactical and Mini. And you can see Warrior plus A plus B are the same length as Warrior. And so these Mini and Tactical extensions add 8 feet 4 inches to your reach, and Warrior plus A and plus B add 11 feet 4 inches to your reach. So we can go all the way to 7 stories. So why? So the difference between tactical and warrior, because it's, you know, when somebody's trying to choose which elite pack to get, tactical is carbon fiber section 7. The handle is 7, and the top is 1. So 7, 6, 5 are carbon fiber, standard modulus, and then 4, 3, 2, 1 are high modulus. So it's more rigid. It's got a higher MSI. It's got a higher rigidity for weight. Yeah, same wall thickness, just a higher rigidity with the material that we're using. Same layers, same number of layers, and everything. When you go to the warrior, it's high modulus for 7, 6, 5 and ultra high modulus for 4, 3, 2, 1. So the reason for that is that, what's the best way to describe that? If I grab a tactical, rigidity is not just the material. It's certainly not just the material. It's also the way we lay out. There's 8 layers of carbon fiber wrapped around a pole. We've got some other videos on that in the Reach It workshop.
Yes, we do.
So you got 8 layers, and it's the angle that we lay those out, which is called a laminate plan. How we lay those out can determine some of the rigidity. And then the second thing is the quality of the carbon fiber. Is it Chinese carbon fiber, Korean carbon fiber, Japanese carbon fiber? And then once you get to that level, it's the pre-preg model. So there's about 6,000 carbon fibers to choose from. In window cleaning, we don't choose from 6,000, but we've got different modulus, you know, for different functions. But the other thing that affects very much the rigidity of a pole is the diameter of the pole, right? So this is, let's say, 1 inch diameter, and this is, let's say, 2 inches diameter. By the mere nature of the increased diameter, this will be more rigid than that, even made of the same material, right? So that's just physics, yeah? And so it's really, that's why if I say you get a mini and you want to extend it, I would recommend that you extend it with plus B, because plus B goes between section 4 and 5. So plus B goes in here. Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4. Plus B goes in there, whereas plus A goes in there. Now, plus A and plus B for tactical are made from high modulus. Plus A and plus B for warrior are made from ultra high modulus. So you've got a more rigid extension, but you don't. What we've designed it for is that the pole can pull apart to become lighter as you clean down, and you can add extensions that add rigidity as you go up, but the extensions are of a higher modulus, so they're more rigid as you extend that pole. So we can put a plus A on a tactical because it's all high modulus. 4, 3, 2, 1 with a plus A is all high modulus from there on in. But a mini is going to be standard modulus 1, 2, 3, 4, and so we recommend you put a plus B in there for the extra rigidity that comes by the nature that a plus B is a bigger diameter than a plus A. If you're buying tactical and warrior, it doesn't matter, right? Just for the mini, that applies. If you only wanted one extension, some guys go, you've got too many, do you really need 2 extensions? If you needed to only have, let's say you've got 6 trucks and you only want to have 5 extensions between the 6 trucks, one guy might use 3 one day, another 2 might use 1 another day, 2, 3 trucks might use 2 or whatever like that, you know, then if you had to err in favor of one extension over the other, then you would err in favor of plus B, right? If you just wanted a stock of extensions. Okay, so so somebody says, I only buy the best, but I only do residential, so I only do 2 stories. I want to buy the warrior. No big deal buying the warrior, but you won't experience any advantage, right? They're all carbon fiber, so the only reason that we increase the modulus, the price, the rigidity, the only reason we do that is because the Reach It poles are all designed, like you buy tactical, it's 25 foot, but it's designed to clean at 55 feet, right? So it's a premium pole for cleaning 2 stories, right? But the beauty is, if you do get a 3-story, 4-story, or 5-story opportunity, you don't have to go and buy a 50-foot pole, right? You can just buy extensions for your tactical. Does that make sense, Martin?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, so the whole logic, it all came, actually, Reach It started because of this one question that somebody asked me. I used to import Extel poles from Denmark into Australia. And we would sell everybody 5 poles would be a standard sale. You get a 1-story, well, you get a glass balustrade pole, a 1-story pole, 2-story pole, 3-story pole, and a 4-story pole back in those days, because they were mostly fiberglass. I think they're all fiberglass. And somebody said, dude, can't I just buy 1 pole? I think he wanted to go to 5 stories, and he's already got 4 stories. And he said to me, do I really have to buy like a whole nother pole? Back then they were like $2,000, right, for another pole. He said, I've already got 4 stories. Why can't I just buy another story, right? And I go, you're completely right. Now, here we are, I don't know, 15 years later, and the majority of poles sold in the market are still sold that way. You get a 40-foot pole. Every dude wants the longest pole, right? So we kind of chuckle, like, I want a 60-foot pole, I want a 70-foot pole. How many jobs have you got at 60 to 70 feet? No, just give me the price, right? I want the biggest. I want to have the longest, right? So it's it's hilarious because I think it's built into the male psyche, right? I really wish I had the longest pole. Well, I can have the longest pole.
Cleaning-wise, it doesn't really make sense because it's a lot of weight to carrying if you're going downwards on the lower floors.
Yeah, because the only time you use your longest pole, other than not including other parts of your life, but when you're window cleaning is if you've got a 6-story pole, you only use it on the 6th story of the 6-story building. When you come down to 5 stories, you can use a 5-story pole. 4 stories, 3 stories, 2-story. Ground, you can clean with your hand. You don't even need a pole, you know? So it's kind of funny that everybody wants to have the longest pole. The reality is probably 3 to 5% of the total glass that you would ever clean would be 4 stories and above, right? 80% of the glass you clean is 2 stories and below. And 3 and 4 is somewhere in the middle, 3, 4, 5, right? I did a whole article on that once. So you should buy the pole that suits the height that you want to clean to now, and you can have aspirations to clean higher. Now, if you're cleaning 2 stories now and you're in a county or a country town and there's nothing over 3 stories in the whole town, then get a mini, right? Because mini with a plus B is 3 stories. It's perfect, right? But if you're in a bigger town and you're doing residential and you aspire to clean some commercial and there's some 5-story properties in your town, but only a couple or 1, then you could get a tactical because 80, 90, 95, 99% of the glass you're going to clean is going to be perfect with the tactical. But if you win that job that's at 5 stories or 4 stories, you can add plus A and plus B to the tactical and you can reach 4 or 5 stories. If you regularly clean business parks, which are 2 and 3 stories as a rule, sometimes 4 because the ground floor might be a 15, 16-foot ceiling height, you know, for heavy lifting and heavy equipment and heavy machinery and stuff like that, like industrial parks, then you might have a 3-story building, but it's a 4-story height, right? That can happen. So usually, like even if you look in here, we're on the 2nd floor. How high is that roof? Certainly not 10 feet, is it?
I do use the metric system, so I'd probably say 4 meters.
Yeah, so it could be 4 meters. Well, I'm 2 meters.
Maybe, yeah. It's probably
3.5
more.
3.54 meters, right? So
more. I think more than 4 meters.
Okay.
I don't know.
4
Something
meters.
like that.
4 meters, 4 meters. Yeah, maybe more than 6 for 12, 15. Yeah. So the global standard for residential is 11 feet per floor, right? 3.3 meters, right? And the global standard for industrial buildings is 15, 16 feet per floor, and sometimes 20 feet, and sometimes 30 feet, right? So if you have an aspiration to clean at 50, 60, 70 feet, or let's say you live in a country town, but you want to go to the big city and you want to pick up some of those jobs, then you could well do by saying, I'll get a Warrior, because you're future-proofing your business with a Warrior, right? But if you have none of that opportunity, then you're spending money you don't need to spend, 100%, right? I've talked there are a lot of guys who put testimony out that I've talked a lot of guys out of buying the biggest, longest pole, right? So you only need to buy the pole you need now. Later, when you win that job, we're like, let's say 7 days delivery, you get the job, you order your extension, and then you're ready to go. You've already got your skill set because you're used to cleaning lower, and your tactical pole. So then just built into that, there's one other difference. Mini and tactical pull apart at the same place. the number 1 section pulls out and the 4 and 5 section pull out. So that is basically the pole disassembles one story at a time, right? And so if you're doing glass balustrades or ground floor glass, you can just use the number 1 section of the pole and it's featherweight, right? Warrior pulls apart at section 1, 3, and 5, right? Because the sections are longer, and we put the plus A and the plus B in different locations for the Warrior. And so that's also a noticeable difference. So if sometimes we get guys who have got a Mini and they've bought a plus A, plus B, even maybe in the old days a plus C. But then they want to upgrade and they want to say, do I get a Warrior or a Tactical? And I go, if you've already got plus A and plus B, you're better to upgrade to a Tactical because your plus A and plus B will fit the Tactical. So if there's a little syntax gap here, it's because the memory card of the camera filled up.
Yep, we changed it. We're ready to go.
We're ready to rock and roll. So the principle I think we were talking about is, if you get a Warrior and you have an aspiration that you can clean, 4, 5, and 6 stories. Warrior is 4 stories out of the box in an elite pack. And then later on, if you get a 5-story job, you can buy a plus A. If you get a 6-story job, you can buy a plus B. If you get a 7-story job, you can buy another plus B. So the idea is that you buy the pole, that will do 80% of the work that you need, and then you can get the extensions for the 20% of the work that comes along from time to time. Always remembering that always remembering that. Why? I forgot. Yeah, always remembering the 80-20 rule. You're just going to do the 80-20 rule, and then that's because I came up with the next thing I wanted to say, and then I forgot what I was saying. Is that in the old days when I first started Reach It, I worked out that when I sold a 1-story pole, 2-story, 3-story, 4-story, 5-story to somebody, the maths was, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 4 is 7, plus 5 is 12. No. 1, 3, 7, plus 4 is 11, plus 5 is 16, right? Now, we can go to 7 stories now, right? So 16 and 6 is 22, 22 and 7 is 29. So if you buy your pole in the traditional sense, the pre-Reach It or the other than Reach It sense, some of the guys have followed us in the 10 years, but the principle, you could have 29 stories of carbon fiber to go 7 stories. Like none of that ever made any sense to me. Although it was incredibly inefficient with money, incredibly inefficient with resources, incredibly inefficient with everything. So the Reach It poles are all designed that you have the master pole looks after 80% of the glass that you clean, the extensions look after 20% of the glass you clean. You only use the extensions on those super high jobs, right? So the ROI of an extension is simply that it allows you to reach the 7th story when you could have cleaned 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 with the existing pole, yeah? So you just buy it to get the 7 stories so you get all the money from cleaning all the 7 stories. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Don't waste money.
And that's the history of Reach It. We would never have started Reach It if that guy didn't ask me that question, I don't think. Because I thought, oh my God, all the designs are wrong. They have the internal tubing, holds the pole together. You can't just buy another story because nobody ever did that back then.
Just changing the pole takes forever. And then, because you have to take the pole down, take off the tube on the
No, but we never took the tube off. We had 1 tube per pole, right? I mean, guys will be different. But you don't want to thread the tube down the pole every time you change your pole, right? So it's just easier to carry the tube with the pole, carry the tube with the pole, carry the tube with the pole. And of course, the guys who do residential wouldn't have that inconvenience, but I used to do commercial buildings and, universities and schools and business parks, and so we're dealing with really large buildings at the time. And we just worked out the most efficient way to clean windows. Yeah. So, you had a question.
I had a question. The clamps on Warrior, Tactical, and Mini, are they different or similar?
All the same, right? So all of the Reach It poles because I believe in I hate the idea that if somebody releases something all the time, even though we do it a lot because we improve the products, but with the poles, I didn't do it, right? Is that if we improve the product, we want to make sure that we can go backwards, right? So the clamps have always been to match the diameters of the pole. We've never changed the outside diameter of each of the tube sections so that guys can upgrade their clamps. Because if you don't run internal tubing, there's no reason why your carbon fiber won't last your lifetime and your kid's lifetime, right? If you clean, maybe once a year, you clean the pole, clean the inside of the clamps in case there's some dust and grit that's got found in there. But, you know, for the best part, if it's clean, the clamp will be the sacrificial part and the carbon fiber tube will not. I mean, they make Boeing Dreamliners and golf clubs and stuff like that out of carbon fiber, and drive shafts for Formula One, basically a whole Formula One car out of carbon fiber. There's no reason for it to fail, and certainly not to die in 18 months. I mean, if it fails, it's failing by design for the best part, apart from abuse, right? There's abuse, there's grit and dirt and all that. But we can go make another video. I did one maybe 6-7 years ago on why poles need to be replaced so often. And we bolt the clamps on so that you can unbolt them and change them. So you can change one clamp, you don't have to change the whole set, or you can, you know, change the whole set and start again. It's like having a new pole again. All right, so that's the difference between the Mini, the Tactical, and the Warrior.
Sweet.
See you in the next one.